Alright, the leather's been drying for a little while, and now it's time to do something about those edges. Basically, I'm talking about burnishing the edges. So I got a wet sponge here. It doesn't have to be soaking sopping wet. Just wet enough that I can use to put some water on the leather. Take my burnishing tool. I have a designated only for black holsters burnishing tool. Not that I'm a fan of segregation or anything, but yeah. If it gets black dye on it, and it will, because I use it for burnishing black leather, then if I use it on brown leather, the dye will transfer, and I don't like that. So that's my black leather burnishing tool. Basically, just wet it and burnish. And what that does is it smooths that edge and gives it a nice finished look. Now I'm starting with what I call a water burnish. And while that will give the edge a nice finished look, it won't stay that way for long. And just that fast, let me see if I can get the light over here. We've got a nice edge on it. Now I'm going to continue that with this edge up here, this one, and this one. And when we come back, we're going to pull out the, there we go, gum tragacanth. Now what that does, it's a, well, it's a gum. Let's say they call it a natural gum-based burnishing agent for edge slicking on smooth, natural, or colored veg tan leathers. Produces a smooth, professional-looking edge, and it keeps it that way. But the one thing is, it is water soluble. So once you burnish the edge, if you leave this just as is without putting a top coat on it, then it won't last as long as it would if you put a top coat on top of the gum tragacanth that you use to burnish the edges. Anyway, I'm going to get busy and doing a water burnish on the rest of these edges, and we'll come back with the gum trag. Okay, I've got the wet burnishing done on both of them. Now it's time for the gum trag. I just use a little dauber. Almost forgot what it's called. A little dauber for it. Take a little bit of it and spread it across. You don't need great gobs of it. Just some on the edge. Now I like to give that a moment or two to soak in a little bit before I go at it. Maybe blow on it. Just take my time. Yeah, you can see how the inside of it turned a little bit gray. But the important part is a nice deep black. And once I get that all buffed out, it'll be a nice deep glossy black. It'll be really nice. And just go at it with the burnisher. And that'll slick the edge, and it'll stay that way. Well, for a little while. I still got to top coat it. And that's the thing, once I get the holster all put together, and then I wet mold it, it'll turn all fuzzy, then you got to reburnish. But anyway, let's see if we can get that on there. That's the edge with the gum trag. I hope y'all could see that. And I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the edges. And then we're going to mark and top coat the inside of it in preparation for gluing it. And for that, I'm going to use tan coat. We'll be back in just a moment with that. Now I'm ready for the tan coat. Go ahead, put that in my clamp now. Y'all have seen it. Now you saw it in my last video. I used it to hold my dye bottle. But what I did now is I took my my patterns. These are for my stitch lines. And I scratched into the leather where the stitch lines are going to go. Let's see if I can show this better. Scratched into the leather, like right down there. And I did the same for the other side. I did it to both pieces because I don't want to get the glue to work the best. I don't want to get any of the tan coat to the area where I'm going to apply the glue. I just want it in the middle of the holster that's going to be exposed after it's stitched together. Well, exposed in turn. I don't have one I can show you. Anyway, exposed internally. In fact, let me put this away. Put some tan coat on there. I also buy this stuff by the quart and use it in the little bottles. And just spread it on. Put it right along my scratch lines. Now one thing I'm not going to do is put it on the edges because I want to do those after it's done and it's all molded and all the edges are re-burnished. Then I'll tan coat them. Basically just do it around the edges on this and then fill it in. It gives it a nice coating, a protective coating on the inside of the holster. In fact, I'm going to put a little bit more. Now I'm going to do that with both pieces. Give that a day or two to dry. And then go ahead and glue them together. And we'll see you back for that.